Reintroduction of road tolls looms as government proposes increase in charges.
Individual bondholders give government 48-hour ultimatum to pay matured bonds. Meanwhile, government commences payment on outstanding bonds.
Later tonight, the Ghana National Association of Teachers and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers hits back at the Education Minister, urging him to rather provide adequate resources to non-performing schools than close them down.
In business news, government to announce payment of bonds that matured during the debt exchange. We have details for you shortly.
And elsewhere on the international front, at least 190 people now confirmed dead in Malawi after Storm Freddy. We've got details of all these stories plus many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook. We're also live on your DSTV channel 279. You can join us with your views, comments and suggestions on any of our top stories this hour. Let us know what you make of them on Facebook or on Twitter. We promise to share them with the rest of the world.
We begin from Parliament, where the chairman of the Road and Transport Committee, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, says any amount less than 5 cedis for the road toll will be fiercely resisted. But the minority is pushing for broader consultation that will have the rate generally accepted by all. Komla Kluche's report from Parliament.
As a chair of a committee for roads and transport, I have not had any discussion. There hasn't been any discussion, or we haven't been informed about the proposed rate for the reintroduction of the toll. I have always make a stance that if government want to do reintroduction of the toll, we have to just bite the bullet and fix a rate that will be commensurable or will be able to raise enough revenue to solve our road problems, because I don't see the reason why, if a rate was 1 cedi and now you, after some years, you want to put it 1 cedi 50 pesos. To me, I think it is inadequate.
Already, the chairman of the Roads and Transport Committee of Parliament, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, is indicating that he will not approve of anything less than 5 cedis as a road toll.
So after suspending the road toll for more than a year, and you are adding just 50 pesos to it, then why we could have as well go ahead to maintain the 1 cedi and add, whilst we are collecting the 1 cedi, we could have made a proposal and add 50 pesos to it. But if you come and you said you have suspended it and you want to add, for me, as a road chair, I will not support anything less than 5 cedis. And I'm saying it based on the fact that the average road toll in the sub-region, even globally, is $1. What is $1? How much is $1 today? Okay? So if you're able to raise if it is 5 cedi, we are short of raising not less than 1 billion Ghana cedi. Do you know what 1 billion Ghana cedi can do? It can do so many things on our road.
On the side of the minority, anything less than a broader consultation on the matter will not be entertained or countenanced.
I think this is a sad situation. He claimed 78 million cedis a year is not enough. I can tell you there are people who have weeded roadsides with feeder roads and other things whose bills are at road fund currently. Some owed as little as 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 20,000 cedis who are not being paid. And they're in their thousands. A 78 million Ghana cedi would have cleared a chunk of those people's bills. We will support this if the discussion is broad-based, includes all stakeholders, but we are not going to support this just to create another revenue stream into the general pool of government for them to use to pay for very unnecessary things like cathedral and others. We will not support it. I know there has been some general understanding that based on the inflation and other things, I've heard people in the public say that, look, if you drive V8 and they charge you 5 cedis to cross the motorway, they don't care. Because if you can drive V8, you should be able to pay. I am of the view that, of course, we all know that in the makeup of the public means that some people are better off in terms of resources. So obviously they can pay. I mean, but then if maybe Uber and the transportation that takes care of ordinary people, we can look at how they charge so that the cost is not passed on heavily onto those ones. But if somebody decides to sit in his very expensive car alone, driving around, and is charged whatever amount, I don't think the public should be worried about that.
Well, as to whether this would bring in the necessary revenue that government needs in as much as it's seeking an IMF bailout, it remains an unanswered question regarding what government is seeking to do. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
Meanwhile, government has served notice for the reintroduction of the payment of tolls on selected roads and highways. The finance minister, in a letter addressed to the sector ministry, has proposed new rates when processes for its resumption are completed.
In November 2021, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, announced the cancellation of road toll collection, citing congestion and traffic jams at toll booths as a reason for the decision.
Government has abolished all tolls on public roads and bridges. The toll collection personnel will be reassigned. The expected impact on productivity and reduce environmental pollution.
The roads minister followed up with a press release directing the cessation of the collection of road and bridge tolls nationwide. He also said this.
We want to refurbish all those toll booth structures to provide proper and decent washrooms, for instance, for the use by motorists.
This move was criticized amid agitations and oppositions from various groups.
So those are policy proposals that the minister has presented to the House. Until they are approved, nobody, and I mean nobody, has the authority to start implementing something that doesn't exist. There is no such law for him to operationalize. There is no such law. The law we have now has imposed the fees that they have been collecting.
Due to revenue shortfalls from the e-levy, the finance minister in the 2023 budget presentation announced the reintroduction of road tolls, this time not across the country, but on selected roads.
Mr. Speaker, all new roads of this nature will be tolled.
Honorable Minister, resume your seat.
Mr. Speaker, the completed new road will be told to recover the whole life cost of the completed infrastructure, as well as pay lenders and provide a return to equity investors.
After this, the roads minister came up to clarify that the reintroduction of the policy will affect only roads constructed under public-private partnerships. We woke up on Tuesday to a new memo from the finance minister addressed to the roads ministry, announcing new amount to be paid as road and bridge tolls. This is, however, pending the completion of steps to identify the roads and highways to be affected. But as it stands, the proposal is for a composite average of 88.05% increase across board. Heavy buses will now pay 2 cedis. Cars will pay 1 cedi instead of the previous 50 pesos. Pickup or 4x4 vehicles will also pay 1 cedi 50 pesos. One thing that has not stood out clearly is the specific roads that fall under the PPP project. Many have requested a list of roads and highways to be affected under the new policy. Meanwhile, some experts have described the new rates as inadequate and have also suggested a digitized mode of collection. To them, the human element should be taken out and we should rather focus on automation. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Accra.
In other news tonight, pension bondholders have expressed concerns and disappointment over the failure by government to honor its promise to pay investors their mature coupons on bonds that were not included in the domestic debt exchange program. Now, convener of the Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Anani-Antwi, says by close of March 13, no investor had received payments due them.
Nobody will be punished. All coupons will be honored in the same way the contracts were signed. These were the words of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta during a press briefing with aggrieved pension bondholders who had picketed at the premises of the ministry to demand exemption from the domestic debt exchange program on February 17. Almost a month on, however, government is yet to make payments for coupons and matured principals, the second time the Finance Ministry has failed to honor payments due February 6 and 20. In a statement signed by convener of the Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Anani-Antwi, the group gave a 48-hour ultimatum to the Ministry of Finance to honor its word to pay all matured principal and outstanding coupons due on the existing bonds issued. The group cited an earlier press release from the ministry assuring members of the forum that payment of coupons and principals of old bonds would resume by March 13 to bondholders who did not tender their bonds.
So we're joined on the phone lines by convener of the Pension Bondholders Forum, Dr. Edu Anani-Antwi. Thank you very much, sir, for your time, and good to have your News 360. We know that government had given a deadline to resume payment of your bonds, your matured bonds. It was the 13th, that was yesterday. And as you've rightly indicated, you've still not received payment. Have you had any engagement with government on this matter?
Well, thank you. No, we haven't had any engagement. As at the time that we're writing, we're doing this we haven't heard anything at all from the ministry.
Earlier on today, I chanced on a statement, a joint statement by the Individual Bondholders Forum together with its interested parties. Essentially, you're giving government an ultimatum to make payment within the next 2 days. Why have you had to go that hard on government?
Well, we believe government is going to pay, but maybe there are some few challenges, administrative issues that we are dealing with, because the promise was to do it yesterday. So if you couldn't do it yesterday, and you are giving 3 more days, that is today, Wednesday, and Thursday, to make good your promise, I think it's fair that we are giving that to government.
Rightfully so. We've also picked indications from our sources at the Finance Ministry that they're beginning to process payment. Just in case you don't receive your payments before on the ultimatum deadline, what will you do?
Yeah, that's fine. If that is happening, or is going to happen, and as I said, I believe that is going to happen. If government says, I haven't cited the statement, when government says this commence the processes for payment of these outstanding, that is fine. The only challenge I have with how government is handling this is the information flow. Government is in the financial market, and government should know that there are some rules in the financial market. The market dictates certain things that must be done. And so if the government is playing in that market, the government must conform with those, the dictates of the market. If you cannot pay, you promise that you pay on the 13th, and you could not make it. You don't have to wait for the 13th to elapse for another day to come before you come out with a statement. Government should have come out with a statement, let's say Friday, or the latest Monday morning, to calm the market and investors and say this, everybody knows what is happening, but not to wait for people to start questioning.
I get that, Dr. Anani-Antwi, but my question to you is, in the most unlikely circumstance that government is able to make payments on or before your ultimatum deadline, what would you do?
I still think that the government, once they say they have started, then the process will be completed before the deadline. It shouldn't take more than 3 days to go through those processes to pay us. So if the statement is saying they have started the process, then definitely it will be paid before the close of day on Thursday.
All right, I thank you. Dr. Anani Antwi is with the Pensioner Bondholders Forum reacting to the latest situation where government is yet to make payments on their matured bonds.
Let's continue with the rest of our stories. And a dawn raid by the Ghana Armed Forces in response to the killing of a soldier has raised an age-old question: why always a shaman? Godwin Asediba tries to find answers amid horror tales of army brutality and residents constantly caught living in fear. On assignment on TV3, we bring you excerpts.
The street of Ashaiman is one of the busiest at night. Traders here take the opportunity of the crowd to cash in, but most of them are being robbed after sales by unknown thugs.
Sometimes when the people close and they are going home, some of them are from work, they carry their bags on. You see the boys opening their bag. So immediately we see the boys opening their bag, we will shout, "Hey, my bag no, my bag no, mo." Some of them will run away, some of them they will catch them and we will beat them.
Majority of the crimes committed in here are pickpocketing of phones and money, selling of fake items, swindling and many more. But the assemblyman of the Ashaiman Municipal Assembly, Ni Ayiku Kabute, thinks otherwise.
I don't think you can go to Accra Central and then be walking on the street alone at the time 12 a.m. You can't. You can't. Everywhere. So Ghana is like that. So we should know. If you are security conscious, there are some of the times that you don't walk alone. So it's everywhere.
The recent attack on the soldier comes as a shocker to him, but he condemned the actions by the military personnel deployed to the area and also called on the police to speed up their investigation. But the big question here, why always Ashaiman?
People are still perceiving Ashaiman as the same old Ashaiman that they knew in the past, or the name that they've heard in the past. They still think that Ashaiman is the same Ashaiman. Yes, we all admit that in the past, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 70s, crime rate at Ashaiman has always been in ascendancy. But as we speak now, it has reduced drastically.
Find out on Ashaiman and the Siege, which airs on Wednesday, March 15 on the assignment at 9 p.m. Ashaiman at night, full of life, energy, and many residents say hidden dangers. And many others argue full of people grossly misunderstood and duly stereotyped and branded as violent miscreants.
Nobody should say Ashaiman people are like are criminals. It's not true.
My name is Godwin Asediba, and on this edition of The Assignment, I will examine how a community's notoriety, perceived or real, has been in a nation's focus after the murder of a 21-year-old soldier and the Ghana Army's brutal, heavily criticized, some say disproportionate reaction. Ashaiman and the Siege airs on Wednesday, March 15 on TV3 and on all our digital media platforms at 9 p.m.
Do make a date with us tomorrow. And the issue of Ashaiman came up in Parliament when minority members took on the president over his inability to mention the Ashaiman killings and abuse in his State of the Nation address. Debating the address, the NDC MPs criticized the president for failing to unify the country in the address, but NPP MPs touted the records of government.
Build the road infrastructure, whether health infrastructure, whether educational infrastructure, whether roads infrastructure, the president is working very hard to ensure that Ghanaians get development at their doorsteps. We have been told by the president when he was complaining, just like me, he was whining and lamenting about the issue, and he never provided any solution when he appeared on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, we heard that Ghana has taken delivery of some buses, but what they didn't add was that these buses were coming from Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, these buses were coming from Nigeria. Of course, I have absolutely no problem if FDA confirms that these are good buses. But Mr. Speaker, the bigger question is that how come Nigeria has excess buses and we don't have? How come that Nigeria has excess buses and we don't have the buses? The buses that we are taking delivery of can only last for 6 weeks.
When they brought a policy to curtail Tumso, they said we should put off our deep freezers. They said we should use one mobile phone. They said we should not be charging phones anyhow. That was the way that they wanted to handle a challenge that emanated from the country. Mr. Speaker, at that time, borders were not closed. At that time, ports were not closed. At that time, we were not asked to stay in our rooms. But they were struggling. We were still struggling to handle these issues.
Mr. Speaker, as Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces, the President was duty-bound to say a word about the Shaman as Commander-in-Chief, because rights had been violated, including the murder of a soldier. Mr. President simply just didn't find space in the 1.5 hours delivery to at least console the family of the bereaved soldier, and also to express regret about the abuses of the rights of the people of Ashama. Mr. Speaker, that was unfortunate. The president simply did not live up to expectation as Commander-in-Chief, and I would admonish him to find space and address the nation on Boko and Ashama.
Now, there was a mad rush for childhood vaccines at various health centers in Accra following the start of distribution. Mothers who have expressed relief after months of waiting are hopeful they will not have to experience such a phase of uncertainty once again. My colleague Judith Hawatritanda did some checks at the Osu and Mamprobi polyclinics and reports.
It's day 2 since the distribution of vaccines started at various health facilities. And of course, it's a busy day here at the Osu Maternity Home. Mothers have massed up in their numbers in search for vaccines for their babies. And of course, they are being administered these vaccines kindly. For them, the struggle over the past 2 to 3 months was not at all an easy task. And they are finally relieved that the vaccines have arrived.
I didn't want her to fall sick. It's my first child, and I'm very, very particular about whatever happens to her, because I don't want anything to happen to her, then it will cause me pain or grief in my marriage, because I just got married. So I really want the best for my child. So now I'm quite relieved that she has the vaccine and she can grow the way she's supposed to.
The way they were saying it, that it came yesterday, but they are now trying to distribute it, the various hospitals, but I was not sure. So I came here today, I asked them, and they told me that it's in. Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy. Very, very happy.
The Mamprobi Polyclinic was not any different. Mothers can now heave a sigh of relief after months of interruption due to shortages.
I was wondering, because maybe if they said tuberculosis or something on the shoulder, something I have to come for. So I was thinking that maybe, hey, if my son catch up with tuberculosis at this tender age, what am I going to do? I feel happy because it has saved my time, the stress in carrying the baby, coming to the clinic alone, going up and down. I feel okay now.
Health officials at the polyclinic are hopeful more vaccines will be provided as promised, since the current stock, they say, will last for 3 months.
It's enough, at least to cover up, I'm sure, up to the middle of the year. The Minister for Health says that more is coming, so we know that we'll be having more consignment, and so we'll be able to take care of our babies throughout the year and beyond.
Currently, most health facilities are stocked with polio, measles, BCG and OPV vaccines. Judith Chitango, TV3 News, Accra.
Still on the vaccines, the World Health Organization is urging government to put in place measures to curtail shortages. The country representative, Dr. Francis Kasolo, made the observation on the sidelines of a global meeting on improving maternal, newborn and childcare in Accra.
It's always worrying when there are stockouts, but fortunately, the Ghana Health Service and government were up to the task, and as you saw, the vaccines came in. I must also add that Ghana has performed exceedingly well in the area of immunization, and that the short stockouts do not normally affect the long-term picture in terms of the performance in terms of immunization coverage. For the last decade, Ghana has sustained the immunization coverage well over 95%. So the short-term shortages will not affect that. But if they are sustained in terms of the period, then we get worried. But for now, I think we are getting back to normal, and hopefully this was a one-off experience. I think what is important is just for us all to, from the facility levels, to be up to date with what we have in stock and report it in a timely manner so that action is taken as soon as possible. But it's something that we are aware the health system is trying to develop, and that is ensuring timely reporting of the stock levels from all levels of the health system, so that when they reach a critical level, we then move ahead and, as a country, order new stock.
Now, two pre-tertiary unions in education have criticized the education minister over his threat to close down non-performing schools. The Ghana National Association of Teachers and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers have rather asked the education minister to provide adequate resources to the non-performing schools and facilitate the payment of the capitation grant and other subventions.
The Minister of Education, Dr. Yawose Educhum, would rather have non-performing schools closed down than being a waste of the time and resources of the state and parents. But the Communication Director of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Adokwe Awule, says the Education Minister cannot close down non-performing schools.
Measure the performance of a school, like La Presec and then Legon Presec. You cannot put them on the same pedestal and measure them accordingly, and then purport that one of them is not performing well, so you close down the school. You find teachers sitting under a tree, and that is their self-common room. The head teacher's office is like a hen coop, excuse me to say, where you find the students also in an uncompleted structure as classrooms. In spite of this, they are performing.
He charged the Education Minister to rather close down schools under trees.
He has no power to close down schools. How can, which you have power to close down schools? Even we have schools under trees, they are still managing. Teachers are there teaching. Teachers have dedicated themselves to go to villages where officers will not even go there to inspect those schools. But those schools are running. They go around to beg parents to allow their children to come to school. Those schools are even still there. He should go and close down those schools first.
The General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, Thomas Musa Tanko, says the country's education policy document empowers regional education directors to determine a non-performing school and report to the GES Council. Then the GES Council will advise the sector minister to take action.
You have set aside the GES Council, you have set aside the Director General, you have set aside the regional directors, and you have descended on the heads, and you are holding them accountable that they should come. They said that if they don't change the trend, you close down their schools. That is totally misplaced. That is not where that particular statement should go.
He asked the Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, to rather focus on facilitating payment of capitation grants and subventions.
Resources that must go. Capitation grant is in arrears for 2 years. Subvention for the past 3 years have not gone. Over 3 years it has not gone. The same schools you are talking about, those who go there, and like I have said, they are aggregated 30, 31, 32. With all due respect to those students, you go and put them together in one place. And you say the head should do what? Magic. What do you do? Please, we think that the minister sometimes should consult.
In more news tonight, the University of Professional Studies Accra has commissioned a new hostel to beef up student accommodation. The facility, which is the university's third, is in honor of the designer of Ghana's coat of arms, Ni Amonokote.
The 1,664 capacity hostel has study rooms, a recreational area, modern elevator, television rooms, laundry, among others. The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Abednego Fehi Oko Amate, is optimistic the facility will enhance students' comfort and studies.
As a Vice-Chancellor, I know how important it is to provide a safe shelter and environment for our students. I appreciate the fact that the provision of a holistic education goes beyond a serene lecture hall, faculty, and the provision of books. It is for this reason that the university has invested in infrastructural development, including this new hostel C, to meet the accommodation needs of students.
The Minister of Education, Yao Seiduchum, commended the university for single-handedly funding the project and urged others to follow suit.
Indeed, this institution's progressive and resilient nature in funding this project is one to be emulated by all tertiary institutions in Ghana. The earlier two hostel projects and this current one bring the total student bed capacity to 4,584, and are UPS's support and response to government-free senior high school program.
The facility has a reliable security system to ensure safety of students and other occupants.
A reminder, you're still watching News 360. This is our major news bulletin for the day. We're going to go for a short break. When we return, we've got the very latest in business news with Della Michelle.
We're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
I'm still like a crack. Oh, like a crave is like, oh, Amaria, Poma Sherry.
The beer, America, so,
Amelia, Zumwa, Bedimuna, the nasty bum.
Mammy, Harry, Manumbella,
and that was a video.
A Poma tomato mixer, no.
When you come while you do, hey. Nothing, why no?
Hey, Pomo tomato mixo. Pomo, no.
Charlie, no, I the love come here. If they don't love, no.
If the Pomo tomato mixo. Pomo, no.
Pomo tomato mix, aye, the natural tomato, aye, a cocoa, kama, a mupi. Fiber when in Rowo Munti, Emma would be an ear destro commander for 4 years. This advert is FDA approved.
This is the breaking news. About 2,500 people, 2,500 people have been.
We'll be right back after a commercial break.
When stubborn coughs, colds, and catarrh interrupt your life, get fast relief with Stop Cough. The Stop Cough range is suitable for adults, children, and babies.
In today's breaking news, Alex is back and...
There is a Stop Cough for every cough and for everyone.
There surely is.
Ask your pharmacist about the right Stop Cough for you. The Stop Cough range is manufactured and distributed by NS Chemist Limited. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FD.
The sweet scent of rose in the morning brings me so much joy. Inspired by damask rose and infused with 100% natural rose oil. Introducing new Clay Soft Perfume Beads washing powder. It's like bringing a garden with you everywhere with this wonderful perfume. Take a garden with you everywhere you go with Clay Soft Perfume Beads washing powder.
The business segment is brought to you by MTN.
Time now for the latest in the world of business news with Della Michelle. And we head straight to Parliament. What happened there?
Minority is reacting to some questions that we here at 3 Business did post just last week with regard to a Russian vessel that was on the shores.
Give us the detail.
My name is Della Michelle. Let's now begin with the minority in Parliament as it's asking government to come clean on allegations it purchased Russian fuel under the Gold for Oil program. A Russian oil tanker carrying 600,000 barrels of crude has been idling off Ghana's coast, according to Bloomberg. Speaking to the media, the Member of Parliament for Bongo, who is also a member of the Mines and Energy Committee, Edward Bauer, said the government may have to provide information or risk incurring the wrath of the West, which Ghana needs a bailout for.
Some of the OMCs, like Total, Shell, these are Western countries, who have been given explicit instructions not to do anything with, Russia. And therefore, even in terms of their product, you can't commingle their products, as long as the product is coming from that. 2, the general stance of government of Ghana and the state Ghana since independence up to now has been one of non-alliance. It's one of non-alliance, that we do not belong to the West, we do not belong to the East, we do not align. By the very action of government now, what is our foreign policy? What is the implications of this on our negotiations on the IMF?
And we are working on getting reactions from government. When we do that, we'll share with you in our subsequent broadcast. But away from that, investments within the upstream oil and gas industry have seen a remarkable decline in the last few years, partly owing to regulatory bottlenecks. That's according to the Executive Director of the African Center for Energy Policy, Benjamin Boakye. According to him, various actions by policymakers over the years has made it extremely unattractive for investments within the industry.
Speaking on TV3's Business Focus, the ASAP boss said many of the gains made since oil discovery in 2008 seem to have been eroded by the actions of politicians and those with the power to effect changes. Ghana's Energy Minister Matthew Poku-Prempeh is currently in Barcelona urging investors and decision makers to explore opportunities in Ghana's energy sector for the mutual benefit. According to the minister, Ghana and Africa have become suddenly a hotspot for oil and gas activities. But Benjamin Boakye says the actions of policymakers have made the industry unattractive.
The Ministry of Energy and Petroleum Commission have done many roadshows trying to get investors into the country. But the basic thing is that we have to do it back home. We are not doing them. All right, there are investors here that we need to even engage for them to explore and produce more oil. They struggle to rather get clearance in basic approvals that they need to get.
Government, as part of measures to boost its revenue, has imposed a national fiscal stabilization levy, which would affect 1% of gross production for mining firms and upstream oil and gas companies. Benjamin Boakye said this new policy will be resisted by oil firms.
When you want to impose laws that impacts people in ways that they never imagined or they never anticipated, your first point of call is to engage those people, to even first of all test the implication of that on the production processes. You cannot pass a law that makes it difficult to produce gold. You can't pass a law that makes it difficult to produce oil. So you need to engage to see how much they can part with.
Let's now shift our focus to tax expert Francis Timoboy, who's arguing that the revised toll charges would not be enough to boost the country's road infrastructure. The government reintroduced road tolls and increased the rate by an average of 88% across the board. But Francis Timoboy argues that the rate is still inadequate to generate enough to finance meaningful road projects. He was speaking to 3 Business.
If you look at the amount of money or investment that is required for the various road networks, the expansion that are needed, 1 cedi, 50 pesos, and even you consider a truck paying like 3 cedis, for me, it's inadequate. The big trucks could be charged, let's say 10 cedis, because these heavy trucks, they cause so much damage to the road. 1 truck loaded, I mean, how much is even a cement today to patch the road? So we need to pay the realistic amount. And again, after we have paid it, we don't want to see the current situation of Temamoto Way. It's so bad, you need to be so careful, otherwise you're going to kill yourself. The traffic is so much. We pay the realistic amount. Government should use the money to fix the road.
And that's how we wrap up the business news right here on News 360. Log on to 3news.com for more business news. My name is Della Michelle. Sports news is after this break. Stay with us.
Does money mean to you?
It means convenience. It gives me the ability to do business at my own pace.
It allows me to live my life with ease and enjoy my lifestyle without interruptions.
Security. I can make investments I can trust, and I know exactly where my money is all the time.
Having the flexibility to do what I want to.
The feeling and peace of mind I get knowing I can safely receive remittances from my family and friends from the comfort of my home. Money means safety.
Money means so many things to so many people, but no matter what you use it for or what it may mean to you, money is the one thing that keeps us going and makes our lives a little bit brighter. So what does money mean to you? Just Momo it.
MTN.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today. 0302 200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
Pepsodent is aware that globally, 1 in 2 children suffer from cavities. That's why by giving her Pepsodent, you're not only protecting her teeth, but also helping her grow up and thrive at every stage of her life with a healthy and confident smile, so she can succeed and achieve all of her dreams. Because every smile matters.
OneXBet, reliable bookmaker with high odds, wide selection on events, and bonuses for every taste. 1xBet. Easy use, easy win.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet responsibly, not for persons below 18 years.
Time now for the very latest in sports news, and my man Thierry Nyan. How are you doing, brother?
I'm well. I'm well.
Good to see you.
Same. You're looking good.
Thank
I like
you.
your shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Paul shirt too. I like the style.
Oh, goodness.
Please come again.
I see you're enjoying your new office.
Yeah, I should. Media General are doing exceptionally well across the board.
Across the board. What's happening? What's happening tonight, Thierry?
Anyway, so it's quite a lot, and we'll try to, sample the most important ones and bring you right here in this particular segment. My name is Thierry Nyan, and thanks for staying with us. Now, Morocco are to join Spain and Portugal in their bid for the 2030 FIFA in fourth place at the recent FIFA Club, that's the World Cup itself, tournament held in Qatar. This was confirmed at the CAF President Awards ceremony earlier today.
That is because the ambition I hold for my country is inseparable from that which I nurture for the African continent. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, with that in mind, I would like to announce before this assembly that the Kingdom of Morocco has decided, together with Spain and Portugal, to present a joint bid to host the 2030 World Cup. This joint bid, which is unprecedented in football history, will bring together Africa and Europe, the Northern and Southern Mediterranean, and the African, Arab, and Euro-Mediterranean worlds. It will also bring out the best out of the best in all of us, in effect, a combination of genius, creativity, experience, and means. I thank you, and peace be upon you.
Still with the governing body of football, that's FIFA, they have switched the formats for the expanded 2026 World Cup back to 4-team groups. Now, the competition in the United States, Mexico and Canada was due to feature 16 groups of 3 because the number of teams is increasing from 32 to 48. But the success of the 4-team format at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar caused the governing body to reconsider. The move expands the competition from its projected 80 matches to 104 matches now, including a new round of 32 stage. FIFA said the top 2 and 8 best third-place teams would progress to the last 32. A lot more games means a lot more complication, and maybe for Lionel Messi and Argentina, they'll be smiling, after winning the very last format trophy in that particular tournament. Anyway, away from there, let's do some club football, where Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has stated that he is being measured by his performance in the Champions League. The Spanish tactician has already won the competition twice with Barcelona.
I have a true public opinion. That doesn't mean that we change it. I agree with that, but absolutely will be judged for that competition. Yeah, definitely. Because since the day one I arrived here in the first game in Champions League, they asked me when just arrived, landed here, sitting for the first time, you are here to win the Champions League. I said, what? So I was manager for Real Madrid, that this is not going to happen, but I could understand, but here, I don't know, but I accept it. So as much you go through.
All right, and that'll be all for the sports here on News 360. My name is Thierry Nyan, and we'll bring you some more sports subsequently right here on TV3. Entertainment follows this one.
Stars of Africa.
Mama, will I ever be a soccer champion for Ghana?
Well, you've got to be like a geisha ball. Stay strong and go so far. Never give up till you reach your goal.
Okay, Mama, I'll be strong and go so far, lasting long like this geisha ball.
Be strong and last long
like geisha.
Gino Magic Pepper and Onion, a delicious tomato mix with tomato, pepper and onion. No grinding, no blending. Ya yin da da da. So pa mediane no abe. Come on, Gino, do your magic. And papa no kunu abefi.
Tasty magic.
And your daddy trying to kiss Keke.
Gino Magic Pepper and Onion. The magic that brings them home.
This advert is FDA approved.
Water is life. Water gives life. Water moves through nature in a never-ending cycle. Observe the beauty of water as it flows all around us, refreshing and restoring. Gaze in wonder at the stillness and beauty of nature. There's harmony in nature everywhere around. Water revitalizes the body and keeps you going strong. Water is life. Water gives life. Drink Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. So relax and unwind, and in the calmness of nature, find the rest you desire. For every bottle of Awake you buy, an amount to be donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. This advert is said here.
In a fast-paced daily life, we all need to breathe a little. Day by Day Women's Skincare enhances your skin with long-lasting effects thanks to their active cosmetic ingredients. It is time for yourself. Discover the new Day by Day Women Body Lotion range.
Entertainment news segment is brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water and powered by 3 Entertainment.
Welcome to the Entertainment News segment. My name is Anita Ikia Ekufu, and in commemorating the Women History Month, the U.S. Embassy and the Goethe Institute and Alliance Francaise in Accra have jointly held a film festival to honor and celebrate the achievements of women in film. Usu Orai has the details.
The Women in Motion Film Festival, 8 nights of films, started on March 8, 2023 in Accra to screen films for, about and by women, hosted by the United States Embassy, Alliance Francaise, and the Goethe Institute Ghana. The film festival and panel discussions was held to commemorate the International Women's Day and Women's History Month.
And so we really looked at sort of what the catalog films offered and thought about what films would resonate with women here as well as in our own country. So we looked at themes, everything from economic independence, migration, motherhood, political independence. And yeah, so these were all themes that we thought really complemented each other well and explored different facets of what it means to be a woman today.
Short films including Madame's Cravings and The Consequences of Feminism by Alice Guy, From the Reports of the Security Guards and Patrol Services Part 1 by Helg Sander, From Germany and Black Barbie by Ghanaian-British filmmaker Comfort Arthur, was screened on day 1 of the festival. Director of the Goethe Institute, Helge Friesel, said the initiative is to inspire women to work harder to achieve greatness.
I mean, if you see the numbers, for example, in Germany, like in the banks, in the boards of banks, it's 10% women. In the big companies, it's like 10 to 15 maybe % women, and all the other are men still. We have to change that. I would like to say we should not think that we reached where we want to come, and we should and we have to go on fighting for what we want. But in a constructive way.
Mibroniba, a 22-minute film by Ghanaian-American filmmaker Akosua Adoma Owusu, was also screened.
Let's support women in film, African women in film, women all over the world doing film. The woman's gaze through film is a very important part of telling the African story, of telling the world story, telling our history. So women in film is very important. And the final day, the 17th of March, is actually going to be happening at Alliance Francaise. We're going to be screening The Woman King. So definitely pass through as well.
When Women Speak, a documentary film about the life, work and contributions of Ghanaian women activists to national development, will be screened on March 15th at the U.S. Embassy Commissary. Ghanaian filmmaker Aseye Tamaklo is the director and producer of When Women Speak.
This project is supposed to actually fill the gap of women's stories that do not really exist. This project is to state that women have always been part of history making in Ghana, development, everything. Because the world has a way of writing women out of history.
To some more stories, for 24 years, Easter Gospel Show Harvest Praise has drawn Christians and non-Christians together to praise and worship under a serene atmosphere. The 25th edition of the annual Harvest Praise headlines are renowned international gospel singer Don Moen, Moses Bliss, and Harvest Gospel Choir on Good Friday, April 7.
God will make a way where there seems to be no way.
Running for 24 years, the Easter Gospel Show Harvest Praise is here again. Aside bringing together prolific gospel musicians and Christian folks under one praises and worship umbrella, the show targets evangelism as part of its core mandate.
Hearts are filled with a lot of gratitude to God, because we sometimes ask ourselves how we made it for 25 years and we can only give the praise to God. It's been one year after the other, one challenge after the other, one mountain after the other for us to be able to scale. And it has been a testimony of God's faithfulness. I know that He will continue to make this outreach what it was birthed to be.
For the 25th edition, Harvest Praise is featuring a renowned international gospel singer Don Moen, Moses Bliss, and Harvest Gospel Choir on Good Friday, April 7th at the University of Professional Studies Accra UPSA Auditorium.
Like all other years, you will not be disappointed. We have all the way from Nigeria, Moses Bliss of Bigger Everyday fame, and all the way from the United States of America, we have Minister Don Moen.
In a bid to push the Ghanaian gospel music onto the global stage, Harvest Praise, organized by Harvest International Ministries, is to unveil a new record label as part of its legacies for the 25th anniversary. Reverend Fitzgerald Odonko is the president of Harvest International Ministries.
You know, that's really the great legacy that we want to bequeath to the Christian gospel scene, not only in Ghana, probably in Africa. And that is the next level that God is leading us on to, that we will provide, as it were, a crucible for gospel artists to find refuge and to find an instrument or a means by which their music will reach the world, and they wouldn't be laden with the burden of marketing and promises broken.
Definitely looking forward to this one. My name is Anita Ikuya Ikufu, and that'll be all for entertainment. Up next is International News. Good evening.
At least 190 people are now confirmed dead in Malawi after Tropical Storm Freddy ripped through southern Africa for the second time in a month. Terrifying amounts of brown water have cascaded through neighborhoods, sweeping away homes. Malawi's commercial hub, Blantyre, has recorded most of the deaths, 158, including 36 in a landslide. The government has declared a state of disaster in 10 southern districts that have been hardest hit by the storm. Rescue workers are overwhelmed and are using shovels to try to find survivors buried in mud. The government's disaster relief agency said the death toll had risen from 99 on Monday to 190, while about 584 people were injured and 37 were still missing. More than 20,000 people have been displaced.
Well, that's how we conclude News 360, our major news bulletin for the day. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Parkus Yasari. For more stories, do well to log on to our website, www.3news.com.
And I am Portia Gabo. Remember, we have Ghana Tonight with Alfred Okanse at 10. Have a lovely evening.